Disclaimer, this is my top 5 favorite gacha games, even though some people are gonna say that these games are bad and not good enough or better than others or worse than others. It doesn't matter, alright? Because this is my favorite gacha games. First, in number 5, it is SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. Yes, I know, this is niche. It's not your cup of tea. It's not everyone's game, like Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact. But I freaking love this game. And I'll be completely honest up front, this game is absolutely for a specific type of person. And if Gundam means nothing to you and strategy games aren't your thing, then this is probably not going to stick with you. But if you grew up watching Gundams, playing all the SD Gundam G Generation series on PS2, PSP, PS3, I think this is where you start, man, for a gacha. And I absolutely guarantee that you will love this game. The amount of series and units represented here is just insane. And as someone who has watched too much Gundam over the years, it honestly feels like someone made this specifically for me, for us, the Gundam fans. The gameplay is full on tactics, like proper SRPG territory. You've got grid-based movement, unit positioning, attack ranges, terrain advantages, inheritance system, all the SD Gundam G Generation good jazz. And it plays like, of course, Fire Emblem or this Gacha, if you know what those games are. It is fun, but I have to admit, I just keep this on autoplay. So yeah. The production value on the unit animations is also worth mentioning because for a strategy game, they went crazy. Every single one of them has this animation. It is insane. Every mobile suits, guys. And watching your favorite Gundam pull off these signature moves is really fun every single time and never gets old. Now for the story, it is decent because it is just a repeated story from all the series. I mean, there are some new ones, but it's not gonna blow your mind like, you know, Reverse 1999 or Limbus Company. But it does a solid job of, you know, tying together units and series from across the entire Gundam timeline. In a way, it feels respectful to the source material, so I think that is really good. The only thing that I don't like about this game is the gacha side of things. Getting the specific units you actually want. Yeah, of course, you know, it is a gacha game. It's just that the banner rotations are super fast, maybe like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And we have to keep up with the meta if you want to keep up with the meta. But then again, we don't really have to pull because you can craft a higher tier Gundam in this game. You just have to grind and that's it. So I think in a way it is kind of free to play friendly, so I think that's good. And the sheer amount of content, man, can feel a bit overwhelming sometimes, but once you get used to it, it is really good. There's nothing bad about this game. So I think that's pretty much what SD Gundam G Generation Eternal and why I love this game. So check this one out, I do recommend it and I think it is worth playing if you are a Gundam fan. And in number 4, it is Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah, I know. But what about PGR? PGR is good, the Kuro games is better. I know, little Timmy, but I like this game more. Just listen to me for a bit. The combat in ZZZ is the best I've ever felt in any gacha game, not comparing to PGR. And the way everything flows into each other, you know, the swapping characters mid combo, man, the way every single hit sounds so satisfying and super impactful. It's one of those things that's hard to explain until you are actually playing it and then you just get immediately immersed to the combat. And the worst part is, it makes you not want to stop playing. Like you'll finish a fight and then you just immediately want to jump back into the fight because it feels so good. And before you know it, you've been playing for 2 hours doing content you've already cleared 3 times just because it's fun to do and you want to beat your own personal best or personal record. And what Hoyo got it right here that they haven't always gotten right in their other games is that the combat feels rewarding at every level. Whether you are a casual player just enjoying the animations or someone trying to optimize every single drive disc and agent build, there's something in it for you. The skill ceiling is real, but it never feels like the game is punishing you for not being there yet, and that balance is genuinely difficult to pull off, and this game pulled it off. So why am I picking this over PGR? Well, in my personal experience, PGR is definitely a better game in most cases, but I just don't like the controls for mouse and keyboard because I play most of my gacha games on my PC with mouse and keyboard or controller, And I feel that this game just controls better than PGR. Maybe not on mobile. Mobile, I think PGR is gonna be better. You know, the DMC and everything is better, obviously. You know, the combos and whatnot. But it feels that this game is just a better game for like overall, because animation, story and whatnot, just better, in my opinion. And you gotta talk about the style in this game, man. This game is horny for style, and you have to admit that. The new Eridu aesthetic is cool, again, without trying too hard, and the soundtrack, it's so clean. Everything about the presentation feels considered and intentional, like, you know, HoYoverse, they know what they are doing with the animation and everything. The vibe, the UI, the menus, everything is so clean. And for the story, I have to admit, it is also genuinely better than people give it credit for, especially once you get past the early game. The world of New Eridu is interesting, and the way the narrative builds over time gives you real reasons to care about what is happening. The issue is getting there. The pacing at the start is painfully slow, and I think a lot of people stop caring about the story because, man, so slow. It is so freaking slow. But like most gacha games, once you get there, it is genuinely interesting. Now, the only thing that I don't like is that if the combat isn't your main thing, there is nothing in this game that will keep you busy or keep you interested in this game. The late game is very heavily focused on pushing combat content, and if you are someone who plays gacha game more for the story or exploration side of things, you might find yourself running out of things to do quickly once you've caught up entirely. But if you just want a gacha game that feels amazing to play, above average player skill ceiling, I think Zenless Zone Zero is worth playing. I do like this game, I love it. It's not as predatory as any other HoYoverse game, well, not yet at least. So for now, I do recommend you guys to try this game out and have fun with this. Next, in number 3, it is Arknight's Anfield. This one is surprising, like genuinely surprised me. I went into this game with pretty measured expectations because of mainline Arknights. While I respect it, but it just never fully grabbed me personally. The tower defense gameplay is cool, but you know, it's just not my cup of tea. So when Anfield was announced as this, you know, full 3D open world RPG, I was curious. But then again, I'm not as hyped as other people were. And then I played it, and yeah, wow, I was addicted, especially with the factory. Now, the open world exploration feels good and polished in a way that a lot of gacha games pretend to be but aren't. Walking around the environments in this game is just visually stunning. Like, Hypergriffs clearly knew what they are making and how to make the world feel alive, and it shows in every single area you explore. There's a sense of scale to it that makes you actually want to go and see what's around the next corner rather than just autopiloting through the map. But the thing that generally got me was the base building. I did not expect to care about this as much as I do now, because you are building and managing this place called the Oasis, and the way it functions as this whole interconnected system where everything you set up actually does something and affects how your base runs is weirdly satisfying in a way I just cannot fully explain. Every single time I log in to see my, you know, base building or factory running smoothly, resources being collected, production lines doing their thing, I get this sense of satisfaction, man. I don't know, just like the dopamine kinda hits. The combat is real time with a little bit of pauses here and there, and I think that is exactly the right call for this kind of game. And it gives you enough room to actually stop and think about what you are doing without slowing everything down to a crawl. Pretty cool. But I have to admit that the combat isn't really as good as any other gacha games because it lacks the RPG mechanics. There's no weaknesses, only buffs and debuffs. Enemies sometimes can feel like a bullet sponge. So yeah, even though they fixed it or patched it already, I do still think that kind of feels that way still. So I think that is kind of a bummer. But come on, the visual presentations during the fights is just so freaking good. Everything hits with weight, and the skill animations are satisfying without being over the top. The only thing I don't like is the story. It takes too long to get going, And if you're not already somewhat familiar with the Arknights universe, some of the context is just going to fly straight over your head. The lore in this world is deep, and Hypergriff doesn't really slow down to explain everything to new players. So there are moments early on where you are kind of like nodding along and hoping it makes sense eventually. Well, it does get better, but that early stretch, man, requires some patience like most gacha games. But honestly, none of that changes the fact that as far as gacha launches go, Enfield is one of the most complete and confident ones I've seen in a long time. The game optimization is good, gameplay is good, effects rebuilding is good, exploration is good, just the whole thing is like a complete package of a game. And it also feels like a game that knew exactly what it wanted to be and delivered on it. And that alone makes it absolutely worth playing and worth your time. And in number 2, you all know it, it is Limbus Company. This game is not made for everyone, but everyone who played it loved this game to death. And I want to be honest here, when you first boot it up, the UI is not so eye-catching and the story just throws you straight into the deep without any context. There's no real tutorial that eases you gently, no slow build-up, it just kinda starts and expects you to keep up with it. And a lot of people bounce off right there, and I have to admit, I did so. But if you actually push through that first wall, what's on the other side of this game is the most interesting writing I've ever seen in a gacha game, and I don't say that lightly. Project Moon, the creator of this game, clearly just does not miss when it comes to storytelling. The way the story slowly changes how you see everything you thought you understood, the way it builds its world through small details and dialogue rather than big explosions, the way it makes you genuinely care what happens next, it's just a really good writing overall. Like a properly good, not just good for a gacha game. It's like AAA writing. And that's exactly what keeps me coming back to this game and always waiting for the new update to come. I mean, the combat is turn-based, but please don't let that put you off. On the surface, it looks fairly standard, but there's a lot going on underneath. The clash system, where your skills directly compete against enemy skills in real time, adds this layer of tension and that turn-based combat doesn't usually have. And managing Sin affinities across your whole team, while also trying to build around specific synergies, gives you a lot to think about. Once the whole system actually makes sense to you, pulling off the clean run, holy shit, it feels so satisfying and very earned. And when a run goes badly, it usually feels like a mistake you made rather than a bad luck. But of course, there's gonna be some luck played in this game because this game has a coin flip in the turn-based combat. But don't let that scare you because this game is fairly fair and yeah, just good all in all. The music also deserves its own mention because it is honestly embarrassingly good, like it has absolutely no right being this good for a gacha game. The way the soundtrack shifts during fights and the story moments add so much to overall experience, and it's one of those things you don't notice until you try playing it without the sound and suddenly everything feels completely different. The only thing I don't like is, of course, the grind in this game. The weekly loop can get really repetitive and boring after a while, and the way that the battle pass and seasonal content are structured can feel a little bit pushy at times. But then again, the battle pass in this game is actually worth buying. But if you actually care about the story and don't mind putting in the effort to understand the systems, this game pays you back more than almost anything else on this list. And it is such an amazing experience that this game can make you feel that you want to play more rather than just dipping it off after a couple of weeks, you know? So I think this game is definitely worth playing and worth your time. And of course, in number 1, you know it, it is Reverse 1999. Look, I don't throw around the word favorite or number 1 lightly, but come on man, Reverse 1999 genuinely earns that title for me. And god damn, the story in this game is just on a completely different level compared to pretty much everything else in the gacha space right now. The writing is so sharp, the characters feel real, and the whole vintage aesthetic wrapped around this time collapse apocalypse hits in a way I genuinely wasn't prepared for. It's one of those games where the story doesn't just exist as a reason to pull characters, it's actually the main reason you keep playing. I look forward to the story updates in a way I just don't with most gacha games. And that feeling of actually being excited to log in and read not just grind is something I didn't know I was missing until this game gave it to me. What makes the story work so well is the tone. Obviously, it is dark without being depressing, it's weird without being confusing, and it's emotional without feeling forced. Every chapter feels like it has something to say, and the way it builds its world through the writing rather than just dumping lore at you is something a lot of much bigger games cannot even manage. And the localization is genuinely impressive. The English version reads like it was actually written in English rather than just translated like in most gacha games, which makes a bigger difference than you would think. The combat is also quite deep if you think about it. It looks simple on the surface, cards, counters, but building around counter synergies and Psycube loadouts takes real thought. When a team just comes together and everything lines up the way you plan, it feels so satisfying that you immediately want to go back and try something completely different just to see if that works too. There's a genuine layer of strategy underneath the accessible surface that keeps the gameplay from ever feeling shallow, and that balance is really hard to get right. The production value, man, across the board is just also really high. The art direction is consistent and beautiful, the music fits the atmosphere perfectly, and the overall presentation feels considered rather than just slapped together. Everything about how this game looks and sounds tells you that the people making it actually cared about what they were making. And I just cannot say this enough. The voice acting in this game, absolutely spot on. Every one of them has personality, and it feels so immersive in the world of Reverse 1999. But the only thing that I don't like is the end game, because it can feel a bit thin if you're someone who needs constant content to chase. Once you are caught up on the story, you are kind of just maintaining rather than pushing forward to anything exciting. The game doesn't give hardcore players a whole lot to grind for, beyond keeping their roster up to date. But honestly, that doesn't matter to me because the story carries this game so hard that I would keep playing even if there was nothing else to do. Maybe something like daily grind, or just trying out something new. Different builds, new team, this and that. So yes, Reverse 1999 is my number one, my most favorite gacha games of all time right now, and it's not even close to, something like bigger games like Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Arknights Enfield. I know I put Arknights Enfield in this list, but come on man, it's not even close to this game. It's just that I enjoy Arknights Enfield than most gacha games, and that's why I put it in number 3. But damn, this one, I feel like I'm playing a real game, not just a gacha game. So kudos to Reverse 1999. It is so good. You should definitely try this game. Even if you don't feel like it, just try it. Push through a couple of chapters and then you know what you're getting into, and you will never look gacha games the same way again. So that's pretty much about my top 5 gacha games in 2026. These are all my favorites. Again, this is all my opinion. If you don't like it, then whatever. So let me know, what is your favorite gacha games in 2026? Maybe it's, Wuthering Waves, maybe it's Honkai Star Rail right about now because, reasons. Or maybe it's the same as me, Reverse 1999. Again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.